Well, hello. Welcome to stream. Sorry, that was probably loud. There we are. Nice. I'm on the right screen now. Sick. It's Mario Kart time again. And this is gonna be relatively unadulterated Mario Kart since there hasn't been that much breaking news stuff in the past 2 days, which is strange given the amount of breaking news there was this week. Hey, what's up, Flat Earth Dennis 69? Welcome to chat. Welcome back. There are some things that I've had like sort of passingly on my mind, but I didn't even write them down. So I'll see if I can talk about something here and there. You know, we'll see what comes up. Ah, big custom track room. This is cool. This is a good sign. Okay, giggity. I see. Do you remember the Belarusians training in Lithuania? Yeah, that's right. We were talking about that last stream. And I was saying that hopefully nothing really comes of it. And hopefully it was like, if anything, it was, Lithuania helping to train Belarusian soldiers that were anti-Belarusian government. Rather than them, like, practicing or whatever. But even if they were practicing, I don't think that would amount to too much. What about it? Turns out it's the Belarusian Liberation Army, and they asked us for real guns to invade Belarus. I see. So it was what I was thinking about. They're in Poland, not only in Lithuania. Yeah, that's right. Poland also shares a border with Belarus. Yeah. Okay. That's definitely better than the alternative, but I don't know if they're gonna be able to act on that anytime soon. Imagine they invade Belarus from Lithuania, and that's how World War III starts. That's pretty much what I don't want to happen. Even though obviously I would be very sympathetic to any cause that does not like the Belarusian or Russian government, I would not want to start World War III over this. They are also insane Litvanists. What is this? They want to conquer our capital city too. Okay, well then, good luck with that. Litvanism is a branch of nationalism, philosophy, and political current in Belarus, which bases the history of its state on the heritage of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. Okay. So they're fascists who want to restore the borders of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, which, since you can't see the map, and I know you know the borders, but for anybody else watching, the borders include modern Lithuania, some of eastern Poland, all of Belarus, a pretty big chunk of western Russia, and most of Ukraine. And, a tiny bit of Moldova also. It's big. It's very big. Yeah. Basically, they claim to be Lithuanian. Yeah, like the inheritors, also parts of Latvia, I think. I wouldn't be super surprised if they claimed that, but that wasn't on the historical map that I was looking at. So, yeah. But like generally, that area is the land that they claim. Now, partly that actually partly sets me at ease because they are so insane that no state would ever like let them do the whole rabble rousing, browbeating stuff that they would want to do to restore the great nation or whatever. Fascist movements in just about every country have that territorial ambition, and it is just as unrealistic in every single country, except for when the country has like big enough guns to do anything about it, and even then it is very frowned upon in the international community, as we've seen with Russia. They claim that we are actually Samogosians and they are the real Lithuanians and we're stealing their heritage. Sounds pretty typical. I don't know what they're cooking over there. I lived that? That's kind of wild. Yeah. There we go. Let me get another item here. Ah, a star. Interesting. Basically a dialect. Yeah. I think I've heard of the Samogosians before. They're like a like ethnic group or whatever. Like you said, linguistic dialect and an ethnicity somewhere in the Baltic region. Although I'm not super sure where that would be, like where specifically. I was very uncomfortable near that bomb there. Some consider themselves to be a different language because they are so different from Lithuanian. Yeah, I mean, okay. I think I get it. The important thing to remember, though, is that like a lot of fascist groups, like ultranationalists and whatever, will always claim stuff like that, but it's all bluster. Like they don't actually care, and those claims are really well, they're kind of dumb to begin with. Just because two people or two groups of people speak a similar or even the same language doesn't mean that, like, oh, we are one people, one blood, one nation, whatever. Right? I got disconnected. Okay. For a small country, we have a lot of dialects. 5 in total. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, it's kind of like if you were to take English, if you were to take the English language or whatever, and then say that, well, what is going on with my microphone? Hold on a second. Eugene microphone. Okay. Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties right now. All right. Give me 1 second. All right, what is going on with my microphone? Let me set this here. Does that work? I think that should work. What is going on? OBS is not it's not cooperating with me right now. All right, that should. What? What is this? What is going on here? Yes, okay, I get it. I'm gonna. It's just me and this other guy. Well, that was turning my mic all the way off. I didn't mean to do that. Let's turn it on. And Livin isn't very popular in Belarus because they have no history. Belarusian sabotage. That is objectively not true. Belarus does have history. In fact, quite a lot of history. It is located in a region that has historically changed hands a lot of times. The reason Litvinism is popular in Belarus is most likely because of the reason that any strand of fascism would be popular in any country. Economic desperation that has been weaponized by very powerful people. Name a Belarusian state outside of the 20th century. You're conflating the history of a nation state with the history of an area or identity or whatever. I could just as easily say that Lithuania has no history because you were only a state following World War One, and that would be just as true, which is to say that it's not. It's a way to gain a nation state? Not even remotely. Look, if you think all history, if you think that the only way a country or group of people, whatever, can have history is through a nation state, then your concept of history only begins in the 1800s. Possibly even later than that. And before that, there was no such thing as history. That's the argument that you're making right now. You would not, by the way, you would not say the same thing of the Kurds, because the Kurds currently don't have a state either. But they have a very long and storied history in the Middle East. The same is true of Belarusian. Litvinism was create a culture outside of Russian. I don't know to what extent that's true, but if it is, then it seems that they succeeded. No, maybe in some ways more than others, but yeah. A lot of nationalist movements will emphasize the distinctiveness of a regional culture over other cultures, which can be a very mixed bag. A lot of times it can be used for like if there's recent oppression based on ethnicity, then that kind of rhetoric around repatriation can be useful. But yeah, mostly it's used for like authoritarian reactionism and whatever. They needed a way to detach themselves from the Russian culture by attaching themselves to the historical state of GDL. Yeah, that's probably one of the ways they emphasize their cultural distinctiveness, right? It's like, no, we're not just Russian, and they pick the identity of like the Grand Duchy of Lithuania and their different geopolitical situation in the region, whatever, to be like, we're sort of in with a different crowd. That's why they fucking hate Lukashenko, because he's enforcing the Russian culture. Yeah, I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that at all. Lukashenko is a more or less a Russian puppet president, and Union State, I think, supports that. The GDL was a very tolerant state. Many cultures coexisted in it. That was most likely out of necessity, and I guarantee you that like that wouldn't like hold up relative to countries today. A lot of no culture or religion was enforced above all else. I think I remember reading about that in Eastern Europe and some of the larger Eastern European states, because the founders were pagans. That makes sense. Because that was about the time that Catholicism and like Christianity start to become the dominant religion in most of Europe, and the pagans would have probably caught a lot of flack from just people who were Catholic and living in the region, but also from like the Catholic institutions, the Pope and whoever else, if they tried to enforce a pagan religion as the state religion of Lithuania at the time. Converted very late. Yeah, I do remember reading that as well. I've read a little bit about that region. Not very much, though. Like the Grand Dukes gave special privileges to Jews. And that beats what most countries were doing back then. While in the West, they were being burned. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, basically, you can look at any country's history with the Jewish population, including the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, if not, like, on its own, then definitely while it was in the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth and all that. And it will be like, oh yeah, every couple years they expel the Jews for something, which is pretty wacky. What was that guy trying to do? I just followed him, I guess. Alright, give me this. The best item. Even Muslims, taught us the Great invited many Tatars into Lithuania proper, where some live to this day. That's actually really interesting. The Tartars have really gone through the ringer. Huh, I guess that's faster than doing what I was doing the other time. By the way, all that land is rightful Lithuanian clay, stork noises, for many such cases. Damn, that guy had like a golden mushroom or something. I drove okay that race. I wasn't as familiar with that track. What was I thinking about today? I'm sure it'll come back to me. Oshi Skate Park. Danish Keep. Okay. Did you hear the NATO naval admiral say that they're preparing for war with Russia? I did not hear that, but I wouldn't... That's not surprising to hear at all. I know that NATO has actually been preparing for the possibility of that for quite a while, ever since things started heating up in Ukraine. Even before the Russian invasion, NATO was sort of getting ready for the potential outcome of hostilities with Russia at some point. I guess now they're just sort of taking it more seriously as like a more imminent, maybe not immediate, but like sort of approaching thing. Yeah. And of course, I don't think that, like, I don't think that rhetoric necessarily means anything bad is about to happen. It's just saying, like, hey, Russia, don't really try anything here. Most countries have, like, some sort of military protocol and contingency plan of being ready for war with X, Y, or Z country. Hell, the United States has, like, so many military plans. We have military contingencies to go to war with our allies. That doesn't mean that we're, like, going to do that. It's just like a sort of military planning protocol that we need to be ready for any and all potential outcomes, even the ones that aren't going to happen. Of course, this is one of the ones that's more likely than some others to happen, but still not very likely in my eyes. Fear the Lithuanian stork from rising from its ashes. Very true. All 1.3 million Lithuanians. 1.3? 1.8? I don't remember. Oh, 2.8. Excuse me. Got my population numbers way wrong. 2.8 million. But that's as of, like, 3 years ago. Oh, here's something I was thinking about a little bit. Um, something that is mentioned in 1984, and that George Orwell talks about in another one of his essays that I've read. Is half our country already infiltrated the all-powerful positions in America? True. That's very true. Lithuania actually is in charge of America. Many such cases. Um, the annexation will come next. Yeah, that's right. America becomes the plus 50 states of Lithuania. Lithuania has like I forget how many states it is. It's like 10. New colony. I don't know how you do that shortcut at the very beginning there. I didn't know you could get bullet bills in 4-player rooms. That's kind of wild. I thought that was only 5-player rooms that you could get bullets. Huh. Um, yeah, a significant part of George Orwell's 1984 is about language and the meaning of language and whatever, and like using language to either enhance or, in the case of Oceania, restrict meaning. How did that not work? Um, like with Newspeak and whatever. But at the same time, there's another essay by George Orwell that I read that was about a similar subject, where I think it was two versions of the same essay, and like, but both using wildly different terminology. One of them using much shorter and easier to understand words, and one of them using much longer, like complex words. And I think between that and 1984, the meaning would seem kind of contrary, right? In one text in 1984, uh, the elimination of words from the dictionary is a bad thing, but in the context of this essay, the sort of limiting of your like usage of big words is a good thing. And I think the reason for that is ultimately the same in both. They seem to be contradictory, but they're actually not. It's about the ambiguity of meaning, and being clear with your words. What the fuck is going on? I can't drive today. In both these cases, in 1984, Oceania removes a bunch of words from the English language to construct newspeak as a means of making meaning more obscure, making things harder to understand, and making certain kinds of thought more difficult. Right? That's what you have there. Um, and in this essay of his, I don't remember the title. The essay is made more difficult to understand and meaning stripped from it by using too many big words. Aha. Got him. 6 players. And I think the message there, um, is at least in the essay. I guess if you combine the essay and 1984, what I would take that to mean is that like theory beyond a certain point and theoretical language, very highfalutin philosophical language and all that. If you use that too much, it only serves to obscure bad ideas and to make it harder to understand things that are really right in front of you, right? And when you can get away with using simpler terms to effectively explain the same thing, you should. Yeah, what's up, 1v3? I was just talking about some thoughts I had about some things that George Orwell said in an essay of his that I read in college and also in 1984. Hey, let's not get ahead of ourselves, Flat Earth Dennis. What? I finally did that. How? I don't know what I did differently, I'll be real. And I have a mushroom on me still, so I can take the shortcut over here. Aha. How did that hit him? What? I was a bit closer than I would have liked to cut it on that jump there. Alright. Now how do I do this? That's not how. What the fuck did I do the first time? I should have just gone around the other way. He's gonna throw that backwards. Yeah. Had a feeling. Got a mushroom. Fun. You did it at the end? No, I didn't. What? What are you talking about? Alright, I'm not gonna go that other way this time. I've learned my lesson. I'm just gonna do this. Play it safe. There we go. Ow. Fuck. Cool. Guy hit my, Oh, I almost got him with that, too. That's kind of wild. Oh, did he have a mushroom or something? He must have. Oh, they both probably have mushrooms. I got a mushroom. Wait, where did everybody else go in that room? I don't know what happened. I'm gonna look for a different room. Alright. What is... I honestly do not understand what was going on with my microphone. The levels, like, spiked or something. Just all of a sudden. Please? 12-player room? No! Oh my god, it put me back in the same room! Or did it? No, wait, this is a different room. I'm confused, I'll be real. That weird afterwards period after having snowed, where it's sunny but there's snow on the ground, so it hurts my eyes to look outside. So I will get snow blindness from the snow, or from the light reflecting off of the snow. It's very wacky. Do you know Vosh? I am a certified Voshite every day of the week. I do. I do know who he is. I'm actually frequently in his stream chat. And I'm pretty sure he's like... He's not streaming right now, but I think he's about to go live or something. a Dutch streamer who I played on that world map. He's back after around 150 days. Made a very fancy house at the end. With my open hearth being the Enderman farm. Oh, very cool. That's cool. You know how he titles his streams "No World War III." Us and Poland are about to team up and give him a Hassan moment. Oh, is it? Oh no. Okay, I get it. I get it. I get it. Yeah, very funny. Haha. Dude, I don't know what what was going on in Hassan's mind with that one. I don't know. His brain is very riddled with campism sometimes. Yeah, I remember that last stream. I was actually, believe it or not, I think that's the first Voss stream I've ever watched where there was actually no politics. He just talked about gaming and fashion the whole time, which is fine because I think everything that Voss talks about, even when it's not political, has political undertones to it. Especially keeping in mind like that fascists fucking hate art and fashion and gaming are both forms of art. So engaging with that is inherently political. Fascism, if you may. Very true. Fascism, not to be confused with fascism. Spelled with the SH. What is this track? What? This must be my first time playing this. Okay, it's not as confusing as it looked at first. We're good. We're good, I think. Got him! Just a cute little banana snipe. Because why not? Okay, the arrow's pointing me up here, so I must have to go up here. It's pretty sound logic so far. What is that guy doing? Is that a meme strat for this track? I'm not entirely sure what that is. Ah, yes, RC cars. Okay, I think I've seen this custom track before. I saw somebody do like a Taz or a time trial of it or something. But, oh, whoa, whoa, blind turn, blind turn. Alright. No, I got flattened. Ah! Okay, I'll have to clean up my driving next lap. I think the biggest problem with the Nazis is that their slurs aren't creative enough. I mean, if you're racist, at least have fun with it. True, but that would require artistic. I almost said autistic, but you see, all art is autistic, actually. The Nazis coming up with new funny slurs to say about people would require artistic expression, and Nazis hate art, so they can't do it. They can only be racist in the unfunny way. Okay, now I'm getting a bunch of tricks from this. So far, so good. I think I've been driving this track okay, actually. Okay. I usually don't, like... I actually want to, after I read that, I'll talk about it. Let's see. Like, we call Belarusians Bulbash. Potato in their language is Bulba, so they are potato people. Very creative, see. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that one. I mean, like, look, social context is everything. Ultimately, I think being the potato people is based, actually, because potatoes are awesome, and they are a superfood, I think. The potatoes will survive in, like, every fucking climate. Yeah. My autistic artist friend heard you, so I'd lock the door if I was you. Yes. I will specifically keep my door unlocked. I welcome all autistic artists and artistic autists, such as myself. Sounds much better than White Russia, the potato land. Yeah. They call us Litvins. They're very uncreative. Yeah. I mean, that tends to be the case with slurs. Sometimes they're just not that creative. Some of them, however, sound very funny. Like, cracker and honky for white people. And the word retard, too. Very funny. Let me just go and list every slur. I will stop. I will now stop. Who doesn't like a little ethnic slur here and there? Very true. They're tactical, even. Yeah. I usually don't talk too much about other content creators because I feel like that would alienate me from interacting with certain audiences. And, like, you know, as much as people will joke about it, but, like, insert content creator here derangement syndrome, be it Vosh or whoever else, is actually a real thing where, like, people's brains just kind of turn to soup when it's a content creator they don't like for whatever reason. And they might have a good reason for not liking somebody. I don't know. Yeah. So I'm a, for all intents and purposes, on Twitch, I am a semi-closeted Voshite. And me being semi-closeted is about me being a Voshite, not about me, like, being queer or anything. Ah, nice. If you like this insert person, you are literally a Nazi. True. Everybody I don't like is a Nazi. Many such cases. It's like the meme with fucking Hitler on the magic carpet. Dude, I saw somebody use that meme once when it was like somebody responding to a Nazi, and it, like, they were saying some shit about how the Jews control everything, and then somebody quote tweeted it and was like, wow, this person's stupid. And then one of the replies was from another far right person with the image, everyone I don't like is Hitler. And I was like, dude. This example worked great, except if the insert person is Hitler. Yeah, that's true. I'd be much happier calling people potato instead of cancer Mongols like we do. What the fuck? Dude, that is messed up. Damn. Oh no, I didn't mean to throw that banana back. Sorry, I'm a tiny bit tired today. I don't know why particularly. It's probably just because it's cold outside and the air is a little bit thin. Or maybe I'm just a little bit low on brain juice today. Sometimes languages just make since, like, a snowman in Lithuanian is a brainless old man. That's actually incredibly funny. I love that. I'm gonna go build me a brainless old man in front of my house later. I'm not, actually. Kanker Mongol. Very well-known insult that's used way too much. Because that number should be 0, no doubt. Yeah, that's pretty bad, I think. You know, don't do that. Oh, what the fuck? It's a 1v1 now. Okay. What? Bowser Jr.'s Fort? I don't like that track. Ah, and I have to play it again. Well, I mean, it's a fine track and all that, but it's just it's wacky and silly. I'll just have to not take that many risks like I did the last time I raced it. If I'm driving good, everything should go fine. Shouldn't have said that. Said what? The XD about like, haha, funny old man in the snow. Most basic language fact is that UK and Lithuanian is JK because they really are just a joke. I don't get it. I'll be real. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Oh, what? How did you do that? No, I mean that you dislike this track. Yeah, I guess I shouldn't have said it because that's not entirely true. You know, it wouldn't be true to say that I dislike it. It's just kind of annoying to drive on sometimes. It's just wacky. I had that fib snipe queued up and everything. It would have been sick. Ah, I got him. Well, rip. Rip him, I guess. Throw this back just in the interest of getting another item. Oh. I see. This guy's Korean? Huh. I don't think I'm gonna win unless I get, like, 3 red shells or a blue shell or something. Which is possible, but not very likely. Hitting that wall is really what did me in there. Mushroom. Not useless. Ooh. Ah! Right at the end. Yeah, I'll Twitch withheld that comment because it thought the country Niger was a racial slur. You know how the country Niger in English sounds different from the slur? Well, we don't have a soft G in Lithuanian, so every time we have to say the name of the country, we say a slur. Okay. Very, very awkward. I'm sure that country doesn't, maybe doesn't come up that much in casual conversation. Does that mean we have the N-word pass? Yes, but only in your country. Or rather, only outside of America, probably. So really, is no one online today? Huh. I would think that people would be home because it's Saturday. I fucking hate that I can't... Ooh, okay. I hate that I can't, like, back out of that. Don't forget the fact that that's how you say you in South Korean, if I'm not mistaken. That's why all those Korean songs people off like Speed Silver. I did not know that. Remind me to not learn Korean, maybe. He's just called Speed, isn't he? I don't know. I don't know anything about Korean pop or Korean like music culture. What else was I thinking of? I thought there was a couple other things on my mind. I think. Oh yeah, the he wishes he was Korean pop. Right now, that guy's just a joke. Oh, okay, I gotcha. I gotcha. Um, yeah, I was gonna talk about the video I made recently. I think it was good. Um, showed his meat on stream, so at least he has balls. True. That much is true. Yeah, I think the video I made about like Matt Pat's video, um, or the video review that I made, I think is pretty good. Um, it felt like in the moment at some points it felt like my thoughts were disorganized, but I think I just need to have more confidence in the way that I'm thinking and speaking, because like I rewatched it as I was editing to see if there's anything I need to cut, if there's any graphics that I would need to introduce, like if there was something I said, but no, it was pretty good. Like going back and listening to the video again, like watching it through in the video editor. I just you know, the one part that I wasn't particularly fond of was the ending bit where like I had my ending thoughts, because I was like, no, I don't think that's really what I want people to take away from that video and from my analysis of it, right? It seems like kind of a disconnect. And so I added that section about me talking about like you know, fundamentally the name of the game here is critiques of capitalism, etc., etc., etc. All that. This person's being a dick. Is it the quitting vid? No, not Matt Pat leaving. He will be missed for sure. No, it was a video that he made in 2023. Yeah, how YouTube broke your brain. It was about like social media isolation and things like that. And holy shit, Matt Pat is very smart. But yeah, you know, ultimately, I think it was great. It was a testament to my ability to speak on stream in a live setting. You know, that made it really easy for me to work with in the edit, because I didn't have to cut a whole lot. You know, the cuts I made were big and pretty obvious. You know, it wasn't like one of those things where I have to cut out a bunch of little chunks because there are some pauses that I make that sort of disrupt the flow. And then I just added in that one section where I wrote down some notes and had those thoughts that I wanted to conclude with. Had the intro bit, had the outro bit, you know, smooth transition between those. And, you know, that was the video. And I think the thumbnail was really good as well. Like you know, that video, it might just be one segment, but I think it represents, in some ways, it represents like a landmark for me. No, dang it. Wait, what? Oh, I forgot how to drive this track on mirror mode. Yes, excuse me. What the f... Gonna have to check it out then? Yeah, I mean, yeah, you know, do so at your leisure, obviously. Alright, let's... let me collect myself. Over 100k people protested the AfD in Germany here, so that's nice. That's cool. I mean, look, you know, I talked a little bit a few streams ago about how German politics is so fucking cooked. That's not to say, that's not like me talking necessarily about the people. That's me talking about like party politics, right? You know, I'm sure that it would be pretty easy, given the level of like austerity politics and whatever that's going on in Germany, it'd be pretty easy for a left-wing populist to come along and just activate people to vote for like a new left party or something like that that isn't, you know, Linke or SPD or Green, right? But as it is, it's like it's like all that there is in Germany is a fucking joke of a left party in Die Linke, centrists that claim to be at some sort of spot on the left in the form of SPD and Green, and like the far right in the form of not only AFD but also this new like Bolshevik National Bolshevik Party, like Nazbol Party. Japan feeling over the moon about that one, if you know. Oh, yeah. Okay, probably gonna get second here. Okay. It didn't drive incredible, that race, but got second nonetheless. Fifth country that got on the moon, actually? Really? Interesting. Yeah, the next elections in Germany is 2024 an election year for Germany? Poland can't into space. Common Polish L. Yeah, unfortunately, common Polish L. Uh, Germany elections. Next election will be Sunday, February 11th, 2024. Okay, wow. That's pretty soon. That's not going to be good. For sure. Not going to be good. So pretty soon it seems like Germany might have a far-right coalition government. I wonder when the last time that happened was. I'm sure mouth looking for Poland will declare war. NATO infighting. Not really. That wouldn't happen, but yeah. Funny joke. I'm gonna vote for this track since it's a regular track, so I'll vote. I don't know. I'll vote Toad's Factory. And I'll have to pay attention to whether it's 150cc or 100cc. That is a mistake I made last time, or a couple streams ago, that I do not intend to replicate. You know, I don't intend to make that mistake again. DK Mountain. Poland has one small Lithuanian town. Really? Didn't know that. All of Poland is art clay. I see no flaws in this logic whatsoever. Why is that a mistake? Just don't like the speed, or oh no, on 100cc the Toad's Factory like water jump shortcut is actually not possible, and especially not shroomless, which is like I didn't notice it was 100cc until I got to that and tried the shortcut, and then realized, oh, it's 100. I can't do that. But on 150cc, I've learned a pretty consistent method of how to do that shortcut without a mushroom. So that's why I said I'll have to pay attention to whether it's 100cc or 150cc. Wow, there's just some people that like straight up didn't do the shortcut there. Get me out of the way here. I missed the item. That's unfortunate. Did they dodge first, or did they get first just out of the cannon? They might have got first just out of the cannon. If they dodged first, that would have been insane for, like, a worldwide. Unless they smuggled the shock up to first. Interesting. What's he got? Don't go for me. I ain't gonna lie, I was very scared of that guy and his thundercloud. Why, sure, I'll take this thundercloud, no problem. Cannon's right here. God, Russia has planned to confiscate the property of people who criticize the war. Yeah, average authoritarianism moment seems like pretty characteristic of Putin and Russia in general. You know. Honestly, for some people, that's going to be more of a deterrent than, like, saying we will arrest you if you criticize the war. And, you know, I can see why. Because, like, there's sort of a question as to whether or not you can sort of evade the police in some sense, you know? But if the state's just like, we're just going to take your shit. We're just going to take your means of living. Because it's not just like private property, it's like personal property. Not only are you going to all your jail to jail, you'll lose all your shit too. Yeah. That's always like a really, really strong deterrent, especially when you have stuff that's like very related to the internet. They can just over the internet, they can just be like, boom, your stuff is frozen, you can't use it anymore. You know, like frozen assets. Pretty bad if I do say so myself. Yeah. When you call quits, just go to St. Helena. Yeah, I don't think he is gonna call it quits. I think somebody's gonna have to, like, call it quits for him, if that ever happens, or he just dies of natural causes while in office or something. Man, dude, the West fucked up so bad with Russia after the Cold War. I guess right now, right? God, I have a hard time speaking to, like, whether or not circumstances in Russia are dire enough for people to start being class conscious and whatever. I think, if anything, Putin's the type of guy to take the Hitler way out. Possibly, yeah. But he would have to be under that kind of pressure, and I just don't see that happening. I really... I don't know about, like... I think it's actually one of my weak spots that I don't know super well how, like, how movements against authoritarian leaders work, and like, whether or not there are enough internal divisions or class uprisings and whatever for Putin to feel the heat, you know? I would have to do reading on that. Give me this item. Yay. Like, after independence, when we sold our oil refinery to an American company, for $1. Yo, we found his kryptonite, boys. Let's get him. Yeah. But look, in terms of Western countries, I'm a little bit more knowledgeable about that. But, you know, it's one of the subjects that I would definitely have to do more reading on. Is, like, you know, when is it that, like, working class uprisings start to happen? What are the conditions that, like, that would generate that? And I can't really talk too much to that. I guess, you know, I know that what Lenin had to say about the subject, and I do give Lenin the credit of being smart and knowing what he was talking about with respect to, like, oh, revolutionary circumstances, but I don't know, like, how to take that lens to each country as it comes and whatever. Shit's complicated. For $1. Man. After they closed the hospitals and schools, we're pretty well off now. Yeah, I mean, that's never usually something you want to, uh, that's like one of those things where, like, yeah, economic activity is so great now, and then you just look at the economy and you're like, we're so fucked, dude. Like, we don't have schools or hospitals that serve the general population and shit. Like, goddamn. Also, half of our people ran away. Yeah, I noticed when I was looking at that population graph, there's a pretty severe population decline in the 1990s and early 2000s. So we don't need that many of them. I mean, that's true. And I guess, look, I guess if it's purely motivated by, like, you know, we don't need them to cover this many people, that's better than what the United States did, which was they closed all the public hospitals, or like, privatized them. They didn't, like, I guess in the United States and in some European countries in, like, Western Europe, they, instead of just closing schools and hospitals, they would also say, okay, this hospital is now for sale for a private company, and then they had companies running the hospitals like they were businesses and shit. Yeah, let's quit the game and find a custom track room, maybe. I got exactly +0 that race, which is always an interesting sight. I always find the Netherlands wild. If we had the population density of the Netherlands, we would have over 30 million people. Oh yeah, the Netherlands is very dense in terms of population, and they have very, very cool city design. I think very cool urban planning. That's enough to reclaim our clay. Ah, yes, the whole all lands under Lithuania shit. Um, yeah. Maybe, you know what? All roads lead to Vilnius. That's true. Rome stole this. Pay no mind to the fact that Vilnius may or may not have existed as a city at the time. I don't know. Or not like India, where it feels like people are everywhere. The grass fields, those are everywhere. Yeah, India, I think... Not India. There are other countries that are like the most dense, most densely populated country on Earth or whatever. But India is definitely up there, especially as far as like big countries go, you know? I don't think he's going to make it. Yeah, he didn't make it. You know what is also possible, right? What is also possible, where I was mentioning about, like, it's hard for me to say whether people will start protesting in Russia and whatever. It's also possible that I am approaching the issue wrong, right? It could be just that there's like, it's not really a thing that you can predict, unless the circumstances are so obvious to the outside world. Because I haven't really heard anybody talking about this either, you know, not even academics or anything. So, you know, I guess that's what's up. Vilnius was founded very early. It was founded by Grand Duke Gediminas. Got high in a forest. That's a pretty cool origin story for a city. I like that. Mm. Ugh. Yeah. He dreamt of an iron wolf. Many such cases. I guess when, you know, when you're high, what else do you dream about, right? You have like an insane fever dream. Is he gonna make it this time? Nope. He messed up. No, don't trick off that one. Let's see if this guy will make it across this section. Don't trick. Oh my god, he messed it up again. That's not what you're supposed to do, dude. Stop tricking off that. There you go. There you go. And then not supposed to trick off that first one. I think he's going to get put at the end now. Yeah, okay, there we go. And that's why this track is a nightmare. Because there's a very specific way that you have to drive that mushroom section. Yes, a priest of the god Perkunas, the meaning of his dream. And the priest told him that it meant the city would become the center of the world. At least that's what the legend says. I'm sure he probably had a conversation like that. You know, plenty of people have been like, it was revealed to me in a dream. And then they talked about the dream and, like, people tend to be pretty insane with that sort of stuff. Ah, okay, okay. One, I'm talking about cities. Two, we're the second biggest exporter of farming products, with the USA in first, while the USA is 236 times bigger than us. Yeah, the US does a lot of shit. And it really did become the center of the world. That's true. And then everyone kissed. That's true. The good ending. That's actually wild. The United States is 236 times bigger than the Netherlands, and like right next to the geographical center of Europe. That is interesting. I didn't know that. It just goes to show that like the labels of Western, Central, and Eastern Europe are more geopolitically determined than anything. We really need to fix our farming. That's what the BBB should say. Yeah, I mean, I have no doubt that like, remember when that stream last year when I was talking about how the BBB makes its success? It's probably talking about stuff that resonates with a lot of people, or at least it was. You know, like I mentioned with the Nazis, the acronym of the Nazis was the National Socialist German Workers' Party. They were sort of playing to both the capital class in terms of like earning sympathies. They were being like to the workers. They were like, oh, this is the Socialist Workers' Party, and then the like when they went to the big rich boys with the top hats, they were like, don't worry, this is just the National German Party, nationalists. Mm-hmm. And so they sort of dripped the populist honey into a lot of people's ears. That's kind of what the BBB does. They have like farmer and villager in their name, so they're appealing to the people who would work in that industry. There isn't a real center, because according to European countries, ooh, I gotta take a beat. A lot claim to have with stuff like Russia, Turkey, and Greenland. Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. French guy says so. That must be fact. Come at me. Very true. Many such cases. But yeah, like the way that the BBB made its success is by leaning into the populist rhetoric around farming. You know, farming being one of the Netherlands' greatest strengths, and they were like, the West has fallen. Billions must farm. We will make the Netherlands great again by growing potatoes. The whole world will enjoy our potatoes and stuff like that. You know, and you know, farmers and villagers and workers hear that and they're like, oh yeah, that sounds pretty good actually. I like having a strong farming industry. That means I get to take home some of the goods and all that. Little do the Little did the farmers and villagers know when they were voting for BBB, that's not actually what they were interested in, you know? They just knew what sounded good to people and what people liked to hear. So they said that. They sort of tailored their message to their audience. With then no intent of like really following through. Don't really like to call farming our strength, knowing it's all the problems that got us on our plate. Yeah, I know, but I'm saying it's like it's a very prominent industry in the Netherlands, and you did mention that you guys export a lot of farming related like equipment and stuff like that. That's pretty much what's happened with BBB voters. Yeah, and that's how fascism does its thing everywhere. It appeals to at least when it is not in power, when it needs to, it will appeal to the populist sentiments and the economic frustrations, very real economic frustrations among people. And then once they get into power, if they can, they will disregard all like previous facades of that, and they'll just concentrate on like the whole in-group out-group shit that they're actually interested in. Kind of like exactly like the BBB did in the Netherlands. On the campaign trail, they were all about the farmers. But then once they got into office, the only thing they wanted to talk about was immigration and how immigrants are degenerate and killing the country and whatever else. And they were so rabid and foaming at the mouth at that, that they made the government collapse. And ultimately, that's preferable because it means they don't have that firm grip on power anymore. But that's fascism. Very wise man, very lovely once said. Beloved by me once said, democracy shouldn't be for all, but all with knowledge. I disagree. I actually very strongly disagree with that sentiment. I think democracy should be for all, including and especially those without knowledge. Otherwise, you just have a even the poors, especially the poors. The education is like should be accessible to everybody, but right now it isn't. So like, it's not a good idea to gatekeep political participation and political citizenship behind an education wall, because in a lot of countries that equates to putting it behind a paywall. This is basically it would be the modern day equivalent of the censitary regime that a lot of countries did in the late 19th, early 20th centuries, when they weren't fully democracies yet, but were experimenting with the parliamentary system. In a lot of countries, you literally had to pay money to vote, and you got more votes if you had more property and more wealth. This was the case, I think, not in the Netherlands necessarily, but in Britain at one point it was the case. In Sweden it was the case. In Norway and Denmark they did this too. Based, monetized, capitalized business boss. It's, definitely business maxing and all that. Oh. I'm sorry, Matt. Matt got punished for driving intelligently with a blue shell to his cranium. But yeah, no, democracy should be for everybody, including the uneducated. When Trump said, like, I love the poorly educated, of course he's talking about people who you describe as, like, white trash or whatever. But, like, ultimately he made some very smart political decisions in appealing to those people, because they are the majority in this country. And, they feel like, rightly so, they've been left behind. Because that's what you get when people are only interested in catering to the educated, is that skews towards wealth, and then you get a very stagnant economic regime where income inequality worsens year after year. Also, what's up, Canned Soy Milk? Welcome back to chat. Yes, indeed, Monka Drive, Monka Steer. This is this is the average Y2K live stream. This is what I go through. I don't mean that knowledge. We mean people actually know what the problems in the world are and who they are voting for. Should be the only one to vote. To be clear, no hard feelings. Yeah, and I think even still, I don't think that matters. I think that, like, even somebody that is dumb and like, just picture the typical, like, the prototypical, as ableist as you want, the image of the village idiot. Even that man should have the right to vote. And politics should be available to that person. In fact, there's a pro-democracy Iranian scholar that said democracy means of the people, by the people, for the people. But the people are retarded. And even still, I think that democracy is the best system. Because as retarded as the average person is, billionaires are even more retarded. And I would not trust them in a fucking million years to run a country or a political system. What if the village idiot doesn't want to vote? Then they don't have to vote. I think I've gone back and forth on the issue of like compulsory voting. Ultimately, I don't think it's an amazing idea because not voting should be an option as well. Like participation should include the choice to not participate or whatever. Like, oh, that's one of Canoe's emotes. Oh, based. We have a Conure viewer in chat. Nobody should be so alienated to not participate in the political process. Yes, that's exactly right. I think, at the end of the day, all else said, you should have the choice to not participate if you want to choose that. But it should be as easy as possible for people to go out and vote on the day of or to otherwise participate in politics, right? They can't vote if we arrest them all. Very true. That's 100% true. This is what's going on in Putin's brain all day, all the time. Not that voting really matters in Russia. I mean, it might matter. Maybe they have some, like, parliamentary elections that are okay, but, eh. Yeah, that's how I feel about democracy and populism. I think populism is a very useful tool. Because remember, at the heyday of socialist movements in the, like, 19th century, people were even less educated than they are now, politically speaking as well. There's actually an anti-war presidential candidate running. Oh yeah, I heard about that. NFKRZ made a video on that. I don't know how they're gonna do, or if they're gonna get, like, axed by Putin or something. That's definitely possible. Where do I want to use this golden mushroom? They used to have to, but the other one wasn't allowed to apply. Yeah, it's just the best system. Sure, that doesn't mean it doesn't have flaws. Oh, of course. I'm not going to argue that democracy doesn't have a lot of flaws, because it does. I've said so many people didn't know what... I don't know what Mark Root actually said. But just voted for him because what he does for people with more expensive lifestyles, for example. Back when the government collapsed, there were people on TV confirming that. Oh yeah, for sure. Like I said, people are stupid. And that's one of the key flaws of democracy, and we should be working to fix that, not necessarily by like restricting political participation to people that we think would be capable of engaging with democracy better, but rather by expanding education to reach more people so that they could be, on average, better capable of engaging in politics, right? This is one of the biggest reasons I support free college, not just for the fact that, like, the workforce demands a much higher degree of specialized education, but also because, like, education in and of itself, I think, is a good thing, and results in a better world. When people are smarter, I think that makes the world better. And I don't know. I guess I'll conclude my thoughts on that there. That yes, you are right. That democracy has a lot of flaws, but I don't think those flaws mean that we should restrict participation in any way. We should simply amend those flaws where it now exists. There you go. Another disagreement turning into agreement. Very true. Many such cases. Myself and 1v3 have solved politics. World communism established. Yeah. Or world social democracy. I don't know. Whatever people want today, I guess. Like, whatever system. Let's go. Yeah, it's true. Very true. Seven people. You'll lead the West, I'll handle the third world. Many such cases. We stand a base third worldist king. I'm less of a third worldist now than I used to be, but I do think that like I do think that like the developing world does represent a pretty big potential for socialism to come around. Because a lot of places in the West were subject to intense anti-communist like politics in terms of like the Cold War rhetoric, and then also like Eastern Bloc states would got pretty fucked, and people still have that in their memories. But in Africa, things were a lot more turbulent. I'm starting to think that this isn't a monarchist community. Might just be me though. Yeah, this is in fact this is an anti-monarchist stream. I don't like monarchies. They're not great. No, you know what? Maybe I should amend my opinions on like the position of the global South with relation to socialism. I think there are some countries in the global South that are more likely to experiment with genuine socialism than others, right? For example, there's like a weird phenomenon where you have some countries in the global South that are actually wealthy. And I think those countries are where it's a little bit more likely for socialist movements to take root, where you have the problems of industrial capitalism more laid bare and things like that. Because the dialectic has advanced further in those countries. Countries like Peru, Bolivia, Argentina, even. Although right now that doesn't seem very likely. But then you get the much more like the much less developed countries, the much more dire situations in the third world, in the global South, and wherever else. And I think they have a while to go. Before socialist movements start really diverging even from just like liberal social democratic movements, like that are concerned on the development of the economy and literacy programs and things like that. Marx himself believed that America would become the first communist state. That's right. And you know who else did? Lenin. Marx and Lenin both believed that America was ripe for a socialist revolution. And at the time that they're writing, I think I agree with them. And I think even nowadays, I think I agree that the country where it is most likely for socialistic changes to take place is the United States. Because of the federalist system, because things can be tried on a state-by-state basis first, and because it would be very easy to try one policy here, one policy there based on studies, whatever. And the fact that there are already, at the state level, there are many democratic parties that are willing to experiment with more social democratic-minded reforms, rather than just the milquetoast neoliberal stuff that we've seen in years past. Look how the Midwest Democrats are behaving right now, and how aggressive they're being with reforms around the public school system, around unionization, and ultimately a lot of pro-worker politics that are going on in the region. The resurgence in unionization is a big part of this as well, nationwide. I don't know if I would stake my claim that America will be the first country to genuinely become socialist. But, it would definitely, it would be sooner than later relative to a lot of other countries, I think. Because a lot of... it seems like America is simultaneously dealing with the backslide that Europe is facing, but then also having a resurgence of the populist left in like popular culture and whatever, with unionization, with, like I said, these social democratic policies state by state. And Europe really isn't having that. A lot of their left parties are in decay, kind of how the Democratic Party was in the U.S. in the 1990s. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean that the Democratic Party is all well and great nowadays. They are still a neoliberal party at the federal level, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But those are my thoughts on the matter. One secret to not get depressed: the money basement. That's true. Me who thought that American politics were just one big soap. Yeah, like one of the biggest things that I learned about American politics in college was that, like, oh man, the federalist system in this country really is necessary. like America is so big as a polity that it's like almost impossible to run as a unitary system, at least without, impossible, like, if you don't want things to go horribly wrong and authoritarian. Communism is banned here. Yeah, that's true. And here's actually one other thing I can say about socialism, and I think the future of socialism in this country. I think that if socialism has a resurgence, they're not going to call it communism for damn sure, for pretty obvious reasons, but then they might not even call it socialism. It might, like, socialism might even undergo a rebranding in the United States based on other things that are more acceptable in American politics, because a lot of people will hear, especially communism, but also socialism to a degree, and they'll think of the Cold War and the Soviet Union and whatever, and rightly associate that country with, like, really shitty policymaking and really, like, horrible crimes against humanity. As to, like, how far in the future are we talking here? I don't know. The Republican Party would have to be gone first, right? I think that, like, all of the stuff that I see in America's future that could lean towards socialism or very strong social democratic reforms, that would, like, come up against the barriers of capitalism. All of that is contingent on the Republican Party no longer existing because of how extreme their program is and how fascistic. The enormous accumulation of capital in the ultra-wealthy class in the United States makes preventing any redistributive, progressive attempts the common ground of both parties' establishment. That is true. So until Trump dies and Republicans don't have any candidates that can compete. Yes. And I think, like, ultimately for me, Trump has to be around just long enough to drag the Republican Party with him down into the depths of hell. And then he has my permission to die. So right now, Trump has my permission to die. I think if it were any other Republican, Biden would probably win on the campaign trail. Although, like, I could also stake the claim that, like, let the general election play out, let Trump get convicted, and then Biden wins, and then he dies, takes the Republican Party with him, et cetera, et cetera. You get a new two-party system with the Democratic Party and somebody else. Let him die in 2025? Yeah, I think that's a safer bet. Safer time frame to sort of stake that claim. But yeah, I think, and I think to what you were saying, Can Soy Milk, about the party establishments and whatnot, in order for the Democratic Party establishment to disappear, there has to be, like, this climate where it's possible for progressives to come to the forefront of politics, where democracy isn't immediately under threat, where things feel safe enough to introduce new stuff. And, that's the sort of climate we had in 2016. That's what pushed the Democratic Party as far left as they have to begin with. Not that they're especially far to the left or anything. But yeah, step one, priority number one to establishing socialism in the United States is that the Republican Party needs to be BTFO'd so hard that they cease to exist as a relevant party in American politics. And then step two is that, like, we need to push more progressives to the forefront in the Democratic Party if they remain the principal, like, left of center party in America. This, dear family, is why I love Americans. Why? Because of the whole, like, because of the talk about, like, Trump dying or whatever, or what? Ah, I got this again. What the... I got so bumped. Get out of here, Dragon Knight. They just need to tell poor people to buy less avocado toast some more. I'm sure the votes will flood. And then that's not the Democratic Party saying that, believe it or not. I mean, it is some people in the Democratic Party saying that, but those people are so maligned that they are basically not relevant in the discourse about party politics anymore. Like the highest ranking person in the Democratic Party that you will hear that kind of rhetoric from is Kamala Harris, and nobody fucking cares about Kamala Harris. I meant the Republican Party. Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. The Republican Party is saying that, and believe it or not, that's part of what's killing them. They've run the well dry, long since run the well dry on economic policy making. Their only thing that they can talk about really is immigration, and it's vague gesturing that will sometimes get a rise out of the right wing, but ultimately isn't as reliable as it used to be. Tax cuts are not popular, austerity politics is not popular, child labor is not popular, who would have guessed? And so they move to the social issues. They move to, there you go, they move to trans bad as their only campaign promise. And nobody likes that either. This is why the Republican Party is dying. In addition to the fact that they constantly stake their entire party reputation on denying the outcomes of elections when they lose. That's what's led to a lot of Republican parties going bankrupt in certain states, and I think that's ultimately like we need to see that through to the end. It's like fucking Republican Party just keeps posting like anti-trans shit, and I'm out here like I am Joe Brandon, and I am the fucking DCCC's strongest warrior. As your political strategist, I'm advising you to keep posting this shit. Now, I got bananaed. I have to use this. And trans bad. Yes, really, it is that bad. 1v3. In the United States, the only thing that the Republicans actually talk about on the campaign trail is like trans people, queer people broadly as well, but like a lot of times it's mostly trans people and like save children from the trans gay groomers in women's sports and whatever, and like Hunter Biden's cock. Like that's all they talk about. That's it. And this is to the extent that the Republicans really actively dictate the discourse on anything these days. I mentioned this in another stream like a while ago, but the Republican media machine hasn't been as active lately. That like the Republican talking points as dictated from the top down, from their donor daddies and whatever, they're becoming less and less relevant and less dominant of the mainstream political discourse. Like, that's not as much the issue of the day as it used to be. And if they were smart, they would maybe capitalize on the situation that's going on in Israel with the Democratic Party, supporting Netanyahu in fucking times such as these. But see, the thing is, the Republican Party is even more insane than the Democrats. So they're like, all they can do really is shut up. And like it would just take one look for people to realize, like, oh shit, for how bad the Democrats are at this, the Republicans are even worse. Like anything that the Democrats are bad at, the Republicans are worse, and anything the Democrats are good at, the Republicans are also worse. They just suck. That's why being a comedian in Europe is so easy. If you have no material, just check out what the Republicans are saying. Absolutely. It's like, funnily enough, the Onion, the satire news site, the Onion, sometimes is like having a harder and harder time coming up with satire to the extent that it doesn't just come true the next day or whatever. Like with the Republican Party, some of the stuff that they say, like they'll post a satirical article, like we interviewed Republicans, what they think on this and this. Some of that is verbatim stuff that I have heard, unironically, from Republicans, and like, when I say beyond parody, I mean it. Weird track, not gonna lie. Yeah, I have some thoughts about this one. I don't really like it all that much from the perspective of like new players just kind of get fucked on this track. Um, Ultimately, I think if there are any track up on the chopping block to get removed from the pack, it would be this and Castle of Time. Uh, and Mushroom Peaks, but that ship should have sailed long ago. That's what I think on the matter, anyways. Anyways, I was driving pretty good that race. We're getting a big room too. This is a big tent. Our Minister of Innovation and Economy, when asked how we will fund our defense budget, just said that people can just give us their savings. Is that some kind of joke? No, actually, that's what austerity politics is fundamentally. A lot of economists have this critique of austerity. In fact, it's like the most obvious thing. All you're doing with austerity is stealing people's nest egg. Like, it sounds a little bit counterintuitive on the surface, but less taxes hurts. It like people paying less money in taxes hurts their finances more, because what that means is that although you're paying less on your tax bill, yeah, just lend us your last pennies. Well, actually, that's not true. He said give us your last pennies, not lend them. Lending somebody something implies that they'll pay you back. The reason that we pay taxes is to subsidize people who couldn't afford stuff for themselves. The reason that exists is so that you don't have to buy certain things out of pocket, that you don't have to pay to maintain certain things out of pocket. Think of how fucked a country's infrastructure would be if instead of paying taxes to maintain roads, railroads, and public transit, people were charged out of their own like pockets. Like you had to you had to pay money every time you wanted to use the road outside of your house. And of course that would lead to the poor being disproportionately punished. You know? No, I'm dumb. I shouldn't have used my mushroom there. Wait, you can... Huh. That dirt doesn't slow you down all that much. Politicians will steal half the money? Yeah, that's true. Well, here's the thing, right? There's always going to be embezzlement, corruption, and whatever in government. I think the focus should be more on the business owners rather than politicians. The thing about, like, party politics, even in the United States, where there's a significant problem where you're voting for the individual and not the party, and that, like, messes things up a lot. If you're voting for somebody, you're ultimately voting for the letter next to their name or the political party that they are campaigning with, rather than they themselves. Why don't they just tax my Y2K channel points? I have much more of those. True, real and true, and based, and progressive taxation build. Oh, nice. Shock dodge. In our new socialist world, we need to make that a law. Absolutely. Everything will run on Twitch channel points. Very conveniently placed mushroom for me to do that shortcut at the end of the lap. UK started taxing crypto, and conservatives went wild. Yeah, because a lot of conservatives are just like pump and dump grifters. Ordinarily, that's hot, but in terms of like fucking up other people's finances, that's not cool. I don't like that. Yeah. Because there was starting to be a new guard of like tech bro, crypto bro financiers that were getting a lot of money and sort of like breaking into the echelons of the capitalist class. Every now and then that happens in politics where you get the new money coming in that sort of supplants the old money. The country has fallen. I have to claim my crypto zoo now. Yeah, that's true. I imagine some talking points like that. I have lost my monkeys. The West has fallen. Average crypto bro conservative. Yeah, austerity politics is dumb and cringe. Although it is very good for recreating the dire financial and economic circumstances that existed leading up to World War One. I mentioned economic critiques and like talking about Piketty earlier. If you look at the data, austerity politics has made it so that income inequality today, right now, is worse than it was on the eve of World War One. That's a direct racist quote from the 1800s. Really? That's actually incredibly funny. Like in the West has fallen, they took my monkeys. I was referring to the like fucking ape NFTs and shit. But that's also funny that it happens to be like some racist guy from the 1800s that either lost his slaves or his fucking, I don't know, monkeys that he illegally poached in Africa or something. I don't know. Yeah. In God, it's so weird to think about. Like you wouldn't really think about this today because the material standard of living, like the floor has risen, especially in the Western countries, in the wealthier parts of the world. But like income inequality in the West today is worse than it was during the much maligned age of the Pinkertons when like Boss Tweed was shooting workers dead in the streets. Like economic disparities were not as bad then as they are right now, which is fucking insane to think about. And it's even more wild. This is what I said was like one of my weak spots. It's even more wild to me that like with circumstances this bad, people aren't fucking revolting in the streets or anything about it. Like I actually don't. I have a hard time understanding how that works. Although it could just be that like the improved material circumstances, despite the wealth disparity, is like doing a lot to cover that up. You're not sure which one, but that definitely happened. Okay, yeah. If only Lithuania would rule the world, everyone would be billionaire. True, and if everyone is billionaire, then there's no problem. We don't need to worry about it. Easy. You know what? Fairy tale, I will let you have first. You can have it. It's yours. He is lagging all over the place. Ow. Dude, I was gonna let you have first. Okay. At least I'm only in third. Very close call. I don't want to be Bill's affair. True. It's okay. I don't want to be Bill's affair either. I don't even know who Bill is. I don't want anything to do with that guy. Golden mushroom, take me to victory, please. And by victory, I mean first place. Fuck yeah! Our dictator in the 30s called Hitler a dangerous madman. Imagine if he would have been in charge. No Nazis. No, he probably ideologically agreed with a lot of what... Or actually, no, he jailed Nazis? Oh, okay. That's based, but, you know, being a dictator is cringe, but that's based. Jailing Nazis is pretty based. The Lithuanians are making me bills of fare. That reminds me of a post I saw. It was fucking... There's only one gender and it's mine. You can't have it. Mom said it's my turn with the gender. He had to release them due to Nazi pressure. Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. He also jailed communists and people who protested the legalization of the death penalty. Yeah, that's pretty cringe. I mean, jailing communists at the time might have been based because at the time, like, a lot of communist movements in Europe were getting Stalinized, and so they were just fascists that like to paint themselves red and have hammers and sickles and everything. That part can be based or cringe depending on the context. But then, yeah, jailing people who protested against the death penalty is pretty fucking cringe. Not gonna lie. Death penalty itself is pretty cringe too. As much as we mean about, like, Your Honor, insert fucking insane schizo post from a conservative about lolly shit, and then it's just like death. I lived! Okay. Let's see how far my knowledge of this track will carry me here. Alright, get me up there. Whew. For how relatively simple the layout of this track is, it's pretty, it's not all that easy. Because there's a lot of stuff where it requires aiming a jump. Didn't mean to do that, but it worked out, I think. Alright. Let's go. Oh, no. On a museum called the Ninth Fort, which used to be a fort in the Russian Empire and later on a prison/Nazi execution camp later on. When the guy talked about the communists being jailed there for ideas, she said, but does crafty communists still manage to get their books inside the prison? Those crafty Marxist, silly Marxist crafty communist boys. They got their books in here anyways. Yeah, leave it to communists to fucking smuggle a book into prison. Not like a shiv or anything that could break you out, but just a book. God, communists are such fucking nerds. And I love that about well, them, but also just people in general. Even though I don't usually like people who would call themselves that. Conditions there were probably much better than a modern American prison. I don't doubt that. It's pretty difficult to get as bad or worse than a modern American prison. At least they were paid for the work. Yeah, that's true. In American prisons, it's like it's legal to, if you ignore the torture. Hey, let's not jump to any conclusions here. People get tortured in American prisons too. It's just not an official practice. American prisons are pretty fucked. What was I gonna say about it? There was oh yeah, the 13th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution bans slavery, except for in instances of having committed a crime or being sentenced to prison. So if you're a prisoner, you can be legally treated as a slave for the government, or in some cases for private corporations, because America being the place that it is, there are prisons owned by private corporations and run by them too. There's an entire industrial complex about it too. Pretty fucked up. So they didn't take that guy's monkeys? No, unfortunately not. The abolition of slavery in a lot of countries didn't change as much as it seemed. it certainly made the lives of people who used to be slaves better in a lot of instances. But in the United States, I can speak to this example. In the United States, the white planter class, or what used to be the white planter class, now the white bourgeoisie, whatever, or I guess they were still the planter class, whatever. Wealthy white people in the South scrambled after the Civil War and after the abolition of slavery to recreate the social order from the antebellum days, where they were on top and black people were on the bottom. And they did so relatively quick, with the KKK and whatnot, and also with certain practices like vagrancy laws and a lot of things called black codes and with sundown towns, all manner of intimidation and threat of literal force that they were prepared to follow through with to keep black people from exercising any degree of freedom that being a free person in the United States might suggest. So although black people technically had certain legal rights, things didn't get all that much better. At least not until well after the Jim Crow days. Yeah. We just began a blockade. Oh yeah, I think you told me about that. That you're blockading Russian ships from the Baltic Sea, right? I think that's what it was. I fucked up. Oh, I got him. Cool. Just drive, just drive. Oh, no, they put anti-mobility defensive equipment. Okay. So it's like even more blockade. Blockade 2, even. Huh. This is a cool track. This is one of my favorite Rainbow Roads. Ah. That's actually a pretty favorable spot for me to get shocked, because I was going to say because of those item boxes, but then I looked away and I missed the item boxes. Unfortunate. Well, it's okay. It's Rainbow Road, and these tracks tend to be pretty forgiving as far as if you're being pursued by a red shell. There are a bunch of opportunities for the red shell to, like, hit a wall or fall off. So I'm pretty safe as it stands. Also, Estonia is building 600 bunkers. That's probably a smart decision. Like I've said before, a lot of times, countries will begin for military action, or the possibility of military action for the possibility of war coming. I don't think that actually means that war is coming necessarily. I could be wrong. This could be a Hassan moment. I will stake that ground right now. Just to knock anybody's hopes up too high. Don't invest too much stock in what I have to say on this. But I don't think that war would break out in those parts of Europe because of how bad it would be for Russia, the party most likely to instigate that war, right? I think it is a smart decision, though, for Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, countries in NATO that border Russia and their bloc, to take some defensive measures to sort of deter them even further from attacking. Even without those 600 bunkers, it would be really bad if Russia attacked, because then they would be facing off the entirety of NATO. But if you have those 600 bunkers, now it's that much harder for Russia just to deal with Estonia, never mind the rest of NATO. A lot of people are getting conscripted right now, too. Yeah, and I would apply the same reasoning there. Doubt it, but that doubt has quite some hope creating that doubt. Yeah, that's true. I think, it isn't even really necessary for me to have that degree of hope for that doubt to exist. What I'm mostly relying on here is that Russia is interested in recreating their empire, and they can't do that if the world is destroyed. Putin, for all of his very risky geopolitical moves, I don't think is insane enough to launch a war with NATO, because that would go nuclear very quickly. And like I said, if anybody launched what would end up being a nuclear war or threatened to actually press the button, they would be disappeared within the day and replaced with somebody who wouldn't. NATO will let them have us? No. NATO will not let Russia have the Baltics. NATO, for all of its faults in past years, NATO has been pretty good on not engaging in appeasement where it is their legal obligation to not engage in appeasement. We know appeasement doesn't work, and the purpose of Article 5 is that it is a NATO law. It is binding that if one member state is attacked by a foreign enemy, then every other member of NATO has to come in and defend them. It's literally their policy to retake us within 144 days. It was also Russia's policy that Ukraine was supposed to be a 3-day special military operation, and look how that worked. You know, if they're saying 144 days for Lithuania, I think that means you guys are relatively secure. You know, Russia has always done this thing where they sort of beat around the brow and are very very belligerent with their language and their geopolitical posturing. Didn't Poland also leak some documents that NATO will let them occupy us and Eastern Poland? I don't think so. And if they did, if they leaked that, I don't think that's real. That represents too big of a block of NATO for that to be the case. Does that mean you have nothing to fear? No, you have a big, giant, belligerent Russia breathing down your neck, but I don't think that's going to result in any meaningful military action from Russia against NATO countries in the Baltics, especially considering that right now they're still tied up in Ukraine. You know, just because the West has sort of staggered their support and like wavered a bit on Ukraine doesn't mean all of a sudden the war's going well for Russia, you know? Ah. Rip. Not really at the time, but enjoying being with Y2K and me being on the same line. And that kind of rhymes. It does kind of rhyme. But yeah, look, to reiterate that you guys are probably fine. Russia says a lot of things, you know? Russia really taking the looks of Italy from World War II, the underbelly. Yeah, I mean, Russia's military is not, it's not great. The only reason they've been able to get away with sort of helicoptering their military around and, like, threatening a bunch of nations is because the nations they threaten functionally don't have militaries to begin with. The only reason Syria is under the thumb of Russia is because, what can Syria do, right? Like, nothing, just about. Russia is having such a hard time in Ukraine because Ukraine does have a competent military. Russia outnumbers Ukraine about 2-1 on the battlefield, roughly speaking, in terms of like the personnel that they have to throw at the problem. But because like Ukraine has, or at least had, a pretty consistent supply of like good equipment and has a lot better standards, training standards. You know, they train a lot of their troops with NATO. Russia is having like a really, really hard time with conquering them. You know, think about the wars that Russia has been involved with up to now where they had success. Fucking Georgia, like Georgia's a tiny country in the Caucasus. You know, they weren't gonna encounter very much resistance there. And then with like, again, I mentioned with Syria, but then like with Ukraine before the proper invasion and before the Euromaidan. And whatever, you know, the only reason Russia was able to, like, threaten Ukraine is because Ukraine didn't really have a military to speak of at all, you know? And yeah, you know, like you're saying, pretty reminiscent of Mussolini's Italy. Not very, well, no fascist leadership is actually competent, but, like, On the sliding scale, here NATO will give Russia half of Poland. If I don't, I'll look at that. But then if I don't see any sorts corroborating it, I'm going to be incredibly skeptical of that because I don't think that's true at all. To be fair, Flat Earth Dennis ain't the only one thinking hard about Russia's threatening. Germany's getting its military buffed as well. Yeah, that's right. And that's why I say that Russia isn't actually going to do anything. Because, like, the Baltics are far from the only countries that are taking Russia's rhetoric as a cue to, like, build up their military and stuff. You know, other countries are doing it too. Germany being a big one. You know, think of a significantly well-armed, like, German military with the rest of NATO facing off against Russia. Just Russia. I mean, like, yeah, technically Belarus would be there too, but, like, how much could they really constitute a like, valid threat? Can we also give Hungary away? I think Hungary's given themselves away at this point. Ukraine changed all the plans. Yeah, it changed it to be less amicable to Russian interests, if anything. Look, this is one of the few areas where I get really frustrated when people try to sell this narrative, because I don't think it's true. And if it is, then NATO is very stupid. And NATO is not that stupid. Translate this page. Thank you, Russia, for shooting themselves in the foot. Yeah, seriously. Shocking interview of Polish reserve general raised many questions. Yeah, okay, no, this is one general saying this. This is not NATO. War with Russia is quite the same like nuclear war. It's more threatening than really doing that much. Because if so, Russia will... Russia versus NATO, Russia will just lose. Yeah, yeah. Let's see. According to the Polish general, according to the current plans, Warsaw would become a frontline city. NATO help would arrive only in 180 war days. This isn't them giving Poland to Russia. This is them allowing Russian forces to march themselves deep enough into NATO territory that NATO forces could come and cut them off. This is about military strategy to defeat Russia if that war should happen. This is not appeasement. Yeah, but that means the Baltics are in Russian hands? Yes, but not as a matter of annexation. Look, the way you're talking about this is as if Russia is going to unabated come and roll over Europe and take these countries over, which isn't going to happen because, like 1v3 said, and like every fucking military expert on the planet agrees, if Russia and NATO go toe-to-toe, even if Russia has the help of their military bloc, Russia will lose handily. NATO just has better equipment, better tactics, better military doctrines, better standards of training, and better financial resources backing them up. But here's the thing. Russia also knows that, so they're not going to try some shit. Especially when you have the Baltics arming themselves up, when you have Germany arming itself up, when NATO is rearming. Russia isn't going to step 1 foot inside of Europe where they can't get away with it on NATO's watch. Russians will slaughter our people, then NATO will level our cities to the ground together with the Russian troops by those plans. No, because this war is not going to happen. Do you understand what I'm saying here? We've seen what Russia does. None of this is news. Russia's going to slaughter civilians. No shit. What do you think they've been doing in Ukraine for the past 2 years? And then NATO, believe it or not, NATO has rules of engagement. They're not going to, like, fucking... The plan's probably already changed, though. I don't care if they've changed. Because this is a plan. This is a contingency plan. Dude, this is the same level of, like... It's not quite the same level, but this is like what I was talking about earlier, where the United States has a plan to fucking invade Canada. You think that's ever going to happen? No. But there are military minds in DC taking that very seriously because it's their job to take that seriously. That doesn't mean that anything's actually going to happen. This is getting like very scared at the eventual possibility, such a slim possibility of something happening. And the possibility only exists because we can think of it in a like purely fantastical sense, right? if Putin actually indicated any plans to invade Europe, it would be so detrimental realistically to the capital class, never mind everybody else, that like every country would instantly come together and be like, all right, Putin's got to go. And he would be gone within a day. That's not going to happen. Don't spend too much brain power thinking about it. In fact, there are a lot of fascist parties in Eastern Europe, in these NATO countries, that use that as fuel to draw people to their cause. Because fascism in the West can have, it could have the pro-Russia flavor, it could have the anti-Russia flavor, and that's a powerful recruitment tool. This is that fear-mongering at work. The whole, these news articles selling it as if like NATO's just gonna give up the Baltics. No, they're fucking not. Sorry, I got a little bit frustrated about that. I'm done with streaming. Let me find somebody to raid. Okay, have a nice day. Thank you, you too. Don't worry yourself too much. It's Russia's at the end of its economic rope as it is. I don't think they really have the space to try anything else. And also, NATO has great allies around the world. All Russia has is crazy from North Korea, China, and the Middle East. Dictator, King, Winnie the Pooh, and Quran ain't that good partners. Yeah, and the funny thing is, Russia's relationship with China has been relatively strained as well. Like, they're not on as great terms as they used to be. Don't be too mad. Lithuania rules everything, so any war will actually just be civil war. True! That's right, we forgot all about that. Lithuania actually rules the whole world, so all wars are civil wars. Anyways, I'm rating Cody Schwab, friend of the channel, plays Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo GameCube. And I'll be back on Monday. China, Russia's a whole stream on its own. Yeah, and I would have to do some pretty extensive research into that as well. Anyways, see you guys later.